Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Tuesday and only edition of the Xbox Factor podcast. I am your host, Mr. BoomStick XL. And folks, take a look at I guess you can call this episode 00, or you can call it issue, special edition 0. We are kicking off the Xbox Factor podcast on Tuesday. As you know, and many of you who have been following me and helping me grow this channel, understand that I was doing a Thursday Xbox Factor podcast, and unfortunately, it started to take its toll on me. It is a lot of work, and one of the things that I found that I couldn't do anymore because of so many shows was I wasn't playing games, and when I was playing games, it was only 30 minutes and 40 minutes, an hour at a time, and I needed to take some time for myself. So this is going to be the one and only show per week. This is going to be your panel. The only one that we are missing that took some time off for some personal things, and work being one of them, is the very talented young man known as 3-Bit, who will be making his grandest return when he is ready. But this is going to be your panel. And of course, we've seen you've been here for a while. You know that Zemi is a part of it. You know Pong's a part of it. But now we have Mav from Fun Speculation joining the fray, as well as the returning Boxenberger, who was on the Thursday show. And I am happy to be a part of this panel. I'm very, very proud that they are working with me each and every week. So let's get into the introductions. And we got to start first with, folks, he comes off as a mild-mannered Clark Kent / Bruce Wayne, proper suit. And then when he gets on the battlefield and he's on your team, the shit-talking that goes on is second to none. Of course, I'm talking about Zemi Games. He was a Terminator. At one point, he had 29 kills, 6 deaths, 9 assists. He was just a pure monster. I got a chance to hang out with him, Kay Asante, Drawn TJ, Makilla Gorilla, greatest name of all time. First of all, welcome back, Killer Zemi. I mean, wow, and you were putting some people over your knees and giving them some bow. I mean, what was that about?
I mean, that's a nice way to put it. I think I used a lot more graphic language than that.
Certainly did.
But no, man, yeah, dude, I'm super excited to be here as always. And just to add in, whenever I was crap talking to people, I was like, we were in a private party chat. Nobody was hearing anything. Right. It was completely safe, right? Yes. Because
safe
I learned a long time ago that if you go into game chat and you start talking trash the way I do, people talk back, and then they embarrass me, they hurt my feelings and stuff. So I prefer to talk trash to people where they can't hear me talking trash, because it's just better for everybody that way, right? No negative consequences. But no, super excited to be here as always, man. Enjoyed playing the Halo Infinite flight with you, a couple of times over this weekend, and I can't wait to, jump into the topic and, start talking about it, man.
Yeah, we have a lot to get into. If you were a part of last night's primetime gaming, we had Mr. Joanna Dark, who, if you don't know who he is, he does, in fact, work for Xbox, and he was on the show for a full 2 hours, and we got a chance to hang out with him. He brought a code with him, which of course, he offered. We certainly didn't ask for it, because obviously the giveaways are great, but the general conversation is for me is more important. And we had a winner of one of I guess you can consider it maybe potentially game of the year from Bethesda in Deathloop, and he gave away a PC code, and John B was the winner of that, simply for just being in the chat, and sent his code this morning, and hopefully he is downloading as we speak. But let's continue with introductions. Next up, the hardest working man besides Mav here, someone that is constantly putting out incredible opinions and weekly shows on Saturday morning on the Living Split Screen channel. Pong Soul, welcome, dude.
Oh, Tuesday, and Mr. Boomstick, for everybody who doesn't see this already, has been out here in acquisition season mode,
Oh,
making
yes.
Xbox Factor podcast on Tuesdays even better than it was before. Can't wait to get 3-Bit back next week. That's going to be exciting. But to have Mav here, he's been here a lot lately, but to have him as a kind of official now on this panel, along with obviously the great Archimedes. Man, boom, we're going to have some great Tuesdays. We already did. Now, just imagine the opinions coming out of this podcast. So great to be here. We got some big topics, a lot going on, as always. Let's get down to it, Boom.
Yes, absolutely. Real quick, as you see his name on the screen, Drawn TJ drops an outstanding, very generous $10 super chat and says, "Morning, Boom, Pong, Zemi, Mav, and Boxenberger. This is going to be an awesome show. It will help me get through work. It was fun playing Halo with you. Awesome, guys. Yeah, it was great to hang out with you, brother, and we're going to be doing a lot more." One of the things that we talked about that I missed out on over the weekend, I played for about 6 hours. But there is something to be said that when you have a crew of 12 people that you know, it is like a well-oiled machine. And of course, the Wandering Dutch had a lot of people on. Most of his podcast was on there, but he had a lot of people tune in. I cannot wait to do that. I will find the time to party up with 12 people. I can't wait. I mean, because obviously we had 4 or 5 people in our party and it was a blast, but to have 12 people, man,
crazy.
I cannot wait.
It was crazy. Wandering Dutch's crew was just absolutely insane. It was so much fun.
Yes, it was.
Awesome. I mean, I tell you something. There's something to be said about the magic of Halo that when I start talking about it, I just have this big Joker smile on my face that just does not want to leave. And that is incredible. Mav, first of all, brother, it is so awesome to have you on today's show, but I got to get people to check out Friday's show. My God. Not only did Dealer Gaming, who is a personal friend of mine, personal friend of everybody on this in the community, and one of the hardest working dudes on YouTube, no doubt about that. You had him as a special guest, and that's big enough, right? Anytime you say, "Oh, I'm getting Dealer on," you're like, "Okay, great, let's throw the roses." But he dropped some monster information that has set the world on fire. It's one of the first topics we're going to talk about outside. One of the first topics after our Halo. We give our opinions on Halo. But man, if what he said comes to fruition, even in half of it, it appears that Microsoft is really serious about making waves, and we might get some acquisition talk relatively soon. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Hey, it's great to be here, Zemi, Pong, and at long last, Archimedes. And I get to sit here frequently on Tuesdays now together because, hey, we've tried to hook up so many times. I think we've been able to only be on 1 or 2 shows together before. And due to the time difference, he can't really enjoy any of the stuff that we do over at our channel. And then usually I'm busy to check out a lot of the stuff that he's doing during the day. So this is going to work out perfectly because he's one of my favorite creators, period. Videos are absolutely always amazing. And it's somebody that I stumbled upon very early on, right when I had just started. And I think he was just kind of getting started at the same time. But I mean, just to see how far you've come, Archimedes, is absolutely amazing. I'm super happy that we get to do this together with
making me
with
blush.
Pong and Zemi and Mr. BoomStick. Hey, look, this is gonna be awesome, dude. So shout out to the chat. And yes, Friday's show, Xbox Ultimate, was awesome. Kay Asante was there as well. He was absolutely incredible. But Dealer did drop some very interesting things during that show. And I'm not one to go hey, everybody, look what Dealer said on our Xbox Ultimate podcast. You know what I mean? But hey, you bringing it up, if you listen to it, you can kind of spot some of those things. And it was pretty interesting. And shout out to him and everybody else that was on that show on Friday. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, listen, again, it's something that we've talked about specifically on this show. Acquisition season, I know people getting tired of it. I actually had some people actually post the word acquisition. It's taken out of their Twitter timelines. Listen, folks, the reality is if it's not your brand that's making these so-called quote unquote acquisitions, well, then maybe you should choose a better brand. I don't know what to tell you. But Sony has been doing it. It's interesting. It's funny, you talk about acquisitions and everyone talks about, Microsoft's, bad. Microsoft acquisitions bad. Sony's good. And it was brought up last night, and I don't recall who said it. If you look at the announcement of Bethesda, which was a total of 7 studios, since that announcement, quietly, Sony has acquired 5 studios. Right. And people don't put that into perspective. Everyone's like, oh, yeah, Microsoft acquisition. They're taking up the world. Bad. 2 more acquisitions for Sony, and they have matched Microsoft. So just keep that in mind if you're naysaying what Microsoft is doing. But
they funded 3 others too. Boom. They funded 3 others that we know of. So yeah.
So there you go. Here we go. Again, it's one of those things that we're going to continue to talk about. It's something that I have a funny feeling that we are going to get a big announcement. But let's welcome in Box and Burger, a.k.a. Archimedes, a.k.a. Box A Bear. Welcome to the show, dude.
Thank you so much for having me. It's exciting to be on here. I mean, we've been podcasting for what now, 2 years, I think. I started out on Breakfast with Boom, then I moved to the Thursday Xbox Factor podcast with Sammy. Yeah, we had so much fun over the months and that we have been on a podcast together. Then, of course, you had to move to Tuesday, and now I'm on the Tuesday show, and I couldn't be more honored. I'm totally pumped to be on a panel here again with Sammy. Of course, it's always awesome to talk with Pong and Math. You phrased it beautifully. Unfortunately, we don't get to talk enough on shows, but this is going to change from now on. We're going to be part of this panel here together. It's going to be awesome. I'm very humbled to be on here, and let's talk about some great topics we have for today.
Yeah, 100%. Now, I want to open up with something that is pretty interesting. Listen, we'll get to our Halo, conversation probably towards the back end because, obviously a lot of us have already talked about our experience with Halo, and I don't want to. I want to get everyone's opinion on it, but I kind of want to talk about something that friend of this show, friend of this community, Jeff Grubb of VentureBeat said on his last podcast last week. And I want to get everyone's opinion because, a lot of us, right, that are on the Xbox camp first. We're all gamers, sure, but some of us, are Xbox gamers first, and the other ones kind of follow, and that's what I am. I love my PlayStation, but outside of turning it on every now and again, it doesn't get played because there's nothing to play normally. They get the one big bomb, we play it, we beat it, we move on. Xbox is where I play most of it, and obviously I'm playing as much Switch as Xbox now because I play with the missus at night. Now, Jeff Grubb, who is not someone I believe spouts an opinion or says a particular statement because he's looking to A, rile up one side, B, get clicks for his podcast, or C, be in the conversation. I think Jeff is a very humble dude. And I'm working on getting him on a future show. It's just that, our schedules, they haven't been able to link up. So as soon as I hear from Jeff, I'll make that announcement. But I love Jeff Grubb, and I think a lot of people do. Well, this is what he had to say on his last podcast, which I found to be very, very interesting, simply because many people, including myself, are waiting for Phil Spencer to come out and nonchalantly say we have acquired these next 5 studios. Now, I know that there's big talk about a publisher, and I believe that is coming. But there are certain publishers that we know potentially could be bought. Obviously, Take-Two is a big thing, and obviously that particular conversation really just sets off a path that we talked about last night, which I'm not going down now. But individual studios are certainly key to adding talent and, more importantly, IPs to Xbox Game Pass in the big picture, the big scheme of things. This is what Jeff Grubb has to say. He said this. He believes that Crystal Dynamic, who's working on Perfect Dark, IO Interactive, who's currently working on Project Dragon, and Avalanche Studios, who is currently working on Contraband, are all currently being tried out. That's the exact words, quote, tried out to see if they work well with Xbox. And according to him, if it all goes smoothly, they may, folks, may be acquired. Also, and I'm saying this, all three studios bring an immense talent that fit the Xbox pattern of acquisitions. Could Jeff be on to something? Now, here is the thing. This is an interesting conversation. Zemi, you and I, before everyone got here, you said something, and I want you to repeat it, because in this block of potential acquisition studios, you mentioned Asobo, and you said something that you'd love to see Asobo do. First of all, I don't know how or why Asobo has not already joined. If it's a management thing and they want to continue to be independent, you can't argue with that. But I haven't heard that. And no one from Asobo has come out and said, no, we're not acting, we want to remain humble and do our own thing. They've never said that. Now, has it happened and we just haven't had an announcement? Possibly. But getting Asobo, putting Asobo into this conversation, which we know that they are currently supporting Flight Simulator, Zemi, which is amazing. They're also working on one of your favorite games of the last generation. Where do you fall in the potential of IO, Crystal, and Avalanche, and potentially Asobo joining Xbox Game Studios? Do they fit the quote-unquote mold of what Xbox is looking for?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think out of those, three studios that you mentioned, which being the ones that Jeff Grubb also, I think, talked about, I think the one that probably gets me the most excited is Crystal Dynamic, mostly because of Tomb Raider, which I'm, currently in the process of playing through. And I think Tomb Raider is one of those games that, kind of counters PlayStation's Uncharted and also PlayStation's ability to make fantastic third-person, great narrative adventure games, and which is something that's kind of lacking on Xbox, which kind of leads me back to a big reason why I would also like them to acquire Asobo, which we were talking about this in the behind the scenes before the show started. You mentioning Alan Wake. I was never a big Alan Wake fan, but one Remedy game that really got my attention was help me with the title.
Quantum Break.
Quantum Break. Yes, Quantum Break. That absolutely got my attention, and a big reason of it was because I am a huge fan of those third-person narrative, mature kind of adventure games that PlayStation does. And Quantum Break was that for Xbox. But unfortunately, we never saw a sequel. If, an acquisition of Asobo Studio happened, man, I would love to see them throw that IP, the Quantum Break IP at Asobo, and have them make the sequel maybe after A Plague Tale 2. Like, I think that would be incredible. But as far as the three studios that you brought up that, Jeff Grubb talked about, I think, I think that they do kind of fit into Xbox's mold. The studio that definitely has me more excited than any would be Crystal Dynamics because of Tomb Raider and so on and so forth.
100%.
But yeah. Avalanche, who I believe made the the Just Cause series, correct?
Yes.
That is also kind of a pretty big get, because I mean that's an open world kind of somewhat survivalish game. In a way, it kind of reminds me of what Assassin's Creed does in more of like a modern sense. I think that would be a strong game if they could do it right, because Uncharted 4, not Uncharted 4. I keep bringing up Uncharted. I must really want to talk about Uncharted. Just Cause 4, didn't really hit for a lot of people. At least it didn't hit for me. And so if they could do a Just Cause 4 in a really, really good manner, I think it could perform very, very well on Game Pass.
They should do a Just Cause 3 in a very good manner, because that game was awesome.
What, like remaster it? Yeah.
No, it's 3. No, don't remaster, but just take up that what made that game great and put it in a modern, package.
Okay, so like a remake, or just like make
New
like an
IP, but
Uncharted
Just
5
Cause.
closer to Uncharted 3, or not?
Yeah, I mean,
oh
look,
my God, I keep saying Uncharted.
No, yeah, we know what you mean. I mean, look, Zemi, I think you're onto something here. There's something to be said with having an open world game of that ilk be an Xbox Game Pass. I first of all, I love the 3 studios that Jeff was talking about, but I really have to bring the 4th one back into the conversation with coming on your heels is Asobo. I'm with you. There are a lot of IPs that Microsoft is currently sitting on, and we've talked about this. Zemi, you and I specifically have had this conversation that we, what can they do better in regards to getting older IPs. Now, again, Perfect Dark is coming. We have Fable coming, and it's great. Obviously, older we know Halo and Forza, but there are a lot of other older IPs that could use a sequel. And certainly one of those IPs is Quantum Break, which Microsoft owns. They own that IP. If Remedy isn't going to do it, who better to tell that story than Asobo? I agree with you.
Yeah, no, I would absolutely love to see it. I mean, it doesn't even have to be Asobo necessarily. I mean, I would just love to see, a Quantum Break 2 game just in general. I mean, another game that we were talking about is Rise, right? Rise 2. Like, I would love to see them work with Crytek to get that to happen for sure. There's a lot of older IP that is close and near and dear to my heart that I would love to see them, recreate and bring back. And there are certain studios that I think would do a really, really fantastic job. And Asobo Studios making Quantum Break 2, I think, is one of them. One other thing just about what Jeff Grubb kind of mentioned is like the whole trial period idea to make sure to see if these studios are a good fit and that they work with Xbox. And I would also assume that their games work rather well for Game Pass. I think that's also a really, really interesting thing, because I'm not saying that this is the first time Xbox has done it, because obviously it probably isn't, but I think it's the first time that we've heard of the possibility of a trial period for a studio that they might possibly be looking to acquire, which I think is rather interesting. Another mention is, last week we were, Mav brought up the whole idea of all the evidence that kind of points towards, a possible acquisition with Square Enix, or at least a part of Square Enix. And this, Jeff Grubb rumor
solidifies the conversation.
Yeah, kind of solidifies that 100%. It does, which is another interesting thing. But no, for sure. I think that those 3 studios are actually, let's just throw all 4 of them in the conversation. I think all 4 of them would potentially work really, really well with what Xbox is doing. And out of all of them, I would say Asobo would be my top pick. That next would be Crystal Dynamics, because I absolutely love what they've done with Tomb Raider.
Yeah, no, I'll say this: the second Tomb Raider game is absolutely by far the best in the series of the 3.
Yeah, I'm playing through it right now.
Yeah, I have beaten that game multiple times. I am still in complete awe at the opening on the mountain. It is.
My God! Did you see my tweet?
Yes.
God, it's gorgeous,
dude. Seeing it there, it just really does bring to the conversation that this studio has effing talent.
And that game came out in like 2015, right?
Yes, that is correct.
It just blows my mind. I mean, literally, they could come out with that game today, and I wouldn't be complaining in the least bit about the game graphically.
The third one is still one of the best looking games I've ever seen, period. The texture work, the animation work, the physics of objects, it's insanely good.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's so good.
Well, you know what? It's an interesting conversation. Pong, you and I, and now Mav, are co-mayors of Speculation Town, and I think that this conversation has moved past that. I think we are in a conversation where we could generally even suggest that this is something that could eventually happen. I'm going to be completely honest with you. Should these three studios join Xbox Studios, and even like Asobo, which is another one, it makes no sense why they're not there. They're making a Plague's Tale 2. We know Plague's Tale 1 was a masterpiece. They are currently winning award after award for their work with Flight Sim, right, which is just unbelievable to look at. So they seem to be, unless they don't want to be acquired, and maybe that is in fact the thing. I honestly don't know. I don't have the inside connection to Asobo to make a suggestion like that. But I will say this: if you go back to 2018, when Phil Spencer came out on that stage for E3, and he announced the creation of the initiative and the purchase of these four studios, this conversation sounds very similar. And each of those studios mimic each other to some extent. They seem to be almost identical in a lot of ways, and it screams the conversation screams we're joining Xbox, because I think that and I'm talking about the studios would benefit tremendously from being able to be a part of such a stout a bunch of studios, which would bring them up to potentially 27 or even 28. And what that does is give these studios the most important thing in development is time. And more importantly than time is money. And I think that because they could potentially, get acquired, this would be great for gamers, specifically Xbox gamers. Where do you fall on what Jeff had to say?
Well, I mean, it makes perfect sense. I mean, the name of the game right now is to get as much talent as possible underneath your roof, because going forward with the amount of continuous content they're going to have to get into Game Pass to go after the 2 to 3 billion people that they're aiming for. Right now, that's it. That's the business right now, and everybody's doing it. It's not just Xbox. It's Sony. We've seen Sony make their moves. But for Xbox specifically, when it comes to these studios, the biggest thing is, like you were saying, Boom, is they fit a mold. They fit a certain type that they're looking for. And that is a veteran studio who knows how to run themselves. Okay, that's what Microsoft and Xbox want right now. Yes, they're still probably going to build out, a studio here, a studio there. Yes, they might look at some younger teams down the road, maybe from the East, when we're talking about the talent that's coming out of China, coming out of South Korea, coming out of Japan, some of those younger teams. But at the end of the day, who they really want underneath that umbrella is teams that have worked together, have a proven track record, and that can come right in, slot in with all the rest of the teams underneath that umbrella, and you can just plug and play, basically, at the end of the day, right? Pun intended. You don't have to worry about them. You don't have to micromanage them. You don't have to be in their studio all the time asking them what they're doing, where the resources are going. You are going to know, because those teams fit that mold already. The biggest thing here is communication, right? They are going to, if this is in fact true, and I think it is, we've seen a lot of smoke around all these studios. And, there was even, prior to E3, leading up to E3, we had heard that these were pretty much done deals, right? There was a lot of big people in the community talking like, hey, it's pretty much guaranteed at this point. So I think that the tryout term is probably a perfect way to put it. I think that they probably already have frameworks of deals in place. They're going to work with them through these current projects that they have now obviously are funding. They're going to make sure the communication is all there, that everything is copacetic, that the leadership team that's in place at each one of those studios gels well with everybody else at Xbox. Obviously, we already know Crystal Dynamics with Gallagher. That's a gimme, right? If that is something that is being thought about doing, or whatever else, again, Gallagher knows that team frontwards and backwards. He worked with them for
personally,
years.
which is
Personally.
very interesting because who better to work with than people you actually know and have worked with, and they have proven that they could build a story-driven, adult-themed type of title.
Yep, exactly. And again, that's the other thing with all of these studios as well, is that they work on games that are going to fit some needs. I wouldn't say needs, because Microsoft really doesn't need anything at this point. Xbox has got a great diversity, but again, we've been talking about it forever, that third-person narrative driven. All these studios can make that. And I think that's another big piece. I mean, again, IO would be absolutely gigantic to get. The Hitman 3 should be up for Game of the Year, at least consideration. That is a fantastic studio. And like you and Zemi were just talking about, the Tomb Raiders are off the charts. Again, if you got a Crystal Dynamics and you acquired that Tomb Raider IP, it's instantaneous. Again, it's one of the biggest franchises in gaming history in Tomb Raider. So all of this makes sense. I think that at the end of the day, with Jeff using it as a trial period, again, I would say I think the framework of the deals are there. They're going to use these projects that they are currently funding to double check, make sure that everything's in place, that everything seems or everything is as it seems with these studios, because you're now going to get up close and personal with them. Like I said, Crystal Dynamics, I have zero worries about it. Gallagher knows them. The other two, IO, again, seems to be a very well-run, structured studio. They pump out quality after quality after quality. They've gotten better with each and every title that they've made. So again, if all that pans out, great. IO, cool. And again, I just think that that's where they're at with this. And again, gamers, you got to realize, and I know a lot of you are sick of acquisition talk. Look, for the next 2 to 3 years at least, buckle up. This is where we're going to be at. You're going to be hearing about this stuff all the time. There is no what's too big. We might get to a point where somebody starts asking. Well, I mean, a lot of people are going to ask that. But again, realistically, we're not going to get to a point where what's too big. Down the road, we might start to hear that kind of talk. But this is where the industry is at a whole. And it's not just going to be Xbox. It's going to be everybody else. But Xbox so happens to have an advantage, and that advantage is a gigantic bank account. Okay, that it's pure and simple. This is business, and right now the talent is out there, and there's more talent than there ever has been before. But when you're looking for a specific type of talent, like an experienced crew that has been together for a period of time and has proven themselves with multiple titles out there, that talent is going to be acquired. We've seen it with Embracer Group. Now they're focused on the AA side of things, but if you look at Embracer Group's acquisitions, guess what? Almost every single team that they've picked up has been teams that have worked together for a very long time.
76 studios.
76 studios. Almost 300 IP. Almost 300 IP. Now think about that is the name of the game.
And think about that for a second. Let's put this into perspective, right? We've heard certain people, which will remain nameless on this, we're not going further down this rabbit hole, that feel that somehow Microsoft at their 23 studios is getting into the arena of monopoly. And when I hear that, I'm not frustrated. I feel sad for the individuals that are talking that, because you're a boob. You literally have no idea what monopoly means. And all I have to say is exactly what you said. Look at Embracer Group. 76 studios, and no one yet has mentioned the word monopoly. I'm just saying.
No, because it's all AA stuff, and people always just shuffle that off to the side, right? People don't look at that. But again, that's why we got to get outside of our bubbles as gamers. A lot of times it's really easy to just focus on what we've known, especially us older gamers have known the industry for decades. And you get into that same old mindset like you guys were talking about last night with the comments from Colin and stuff on Sacred Symbols. You get into that mindset where you just think that the industry is going to kind of evolve the same way it always has for decades. We are in a totally different world right now. We are in a totally different time frame. Things are changing, and this consolidation, this acquisition stuff, is just going to be the name of the game for the next few years at least.
Yes.
There will come a point where it slows down and everybody's kind of got their fill and everybody's kind of done. But this is just a changing period because of the shift to services such as Game Pass, because of all these different things happening within the industry itself and the world at large. This is where we're going to be at right now. It is an arms race right now. Talent is limited, although there is more talent than ever before, but a specific type of really, really experienced talent that is always going to be coveted. And right now, that's what you see being bought up a lot by Sony and by Xbox. Just buckle up, get ready to rock and roll. But we've got more to come, and there's going to be even some bigger stuff possibly that nobody ever expected to happen. But that's where we're at right now. So I think it's great. I can't wait to see how this plays out over the generation. As far as time frame, I know somebody was asking in the chat a time frame. Again, with acquisitions, you never know. These deals are complicated, and again, some of them can happen fairly quickly, or so it seems. But those talks started 2 years ago, right? Those talks may have started long before we knew about it. So, there is no set time frame. There is none of that. Yeah, we know they like to announce them kind of out of the blue, like they did ZeniMax, or they kind of save them, for something big like E3. But I would expect, obviously within the next 6 to 12 months, we do hear about one at least. I imagine with all the smoke out there. But again, who knows? These deals sometimes fall apart last minute. You just never know. But it's just fun to speculate about them, because that's part of the industry. Again, just like in sports with trades, free agency, all that kind of stuff. That's what acquisitions are about in the industry here. So it's just fun to talk about. And it's good to think about what can come up.
Did you say it's fun to speculate?
Yes, I did. Yes. I plugged you. You.
Absolutely. Mav, I want to bring the mic to you. You've heard of what everyone has to say. The acquisition talk is not going to go away because acquisitions are happening every day in one way or another. Xbox Game Studios is not stopping. We have a feeling that besides the four developers, there's a big publisher coming. And based on what Dealer had to say, he obviously is someone that is in the know. He has connections that are pretty lofty. And another one that doesn't speak out of his rear to garner clicks, likes, or whatever. He would rather just tell you to go F yourself. I mean, that's just Dealer in a hole. But with that said, where do you fall in the conversation of seeing these particular three studios, potentially even fourth one in Asobo, joining Xbox Game Studios? Do they fit the mold in your opinion?
No, absolutely. You added Asobo in there, and I would say especially Asobo with Plague Tale. They already got the relationship going on right now with Flight Sim. Right, as well, and you saw what they achieved with that.
Would you say it's organic, Mav? Would you say that one's
organic? That's like
well, if it was PlayStation, it's organic. If it's Microsoft, like I said, Microsoft equals bad, unfortunately.
It's just like the definition of cultivation. It's cultivating organic growth. Planting this, whatever. Okay. Anyway, yeah, Asobo would make a lot of sense, right? Because you already have two franchises that are kind of, one of them you own, obviously, and then another one's kind of become a little synonymous with Xbox, and a Plague Tale, right? Showed up at E3 again. So that would be awesome. And they're just ultra talented, right? For me, whenever I look at these acquisitions and stuff, who I think Xbox should go after or what makes a lot of sense, I'm looking at talent and proven track record, right? And things that would make a lot of sense adding to the Xbox portfolio or cementing a relationship that has already been there. No different than a lot of the other companies. In fact, Xbox is in this mode just like everybody else is. In fact, even if Xbox wasn't in the gaming industry, there would still be a consolidation period right now because of the fact that the business is booming for everybody. Gaming is taking off. You would still see Sony acquiring studios. You would still see Amazon dipping their feet in it. You'd still see all these other things going on, right? So with Xbox being in there, it creates more pressure and more competition, though, and it heats up the fires everywhere because Xbox has the console, plus they got the wallet, right? So that's why you see all these companies now even going more aggressively, and it's even getting more. And this is not just an acquisition season; this is an acquisition era, right? Like this is, like Pong said, it's going to last for a few years. So talking about studios like Avalanche and IO and Asobo and
Crystal
yeah,
Dynamics.
Crystal Dynamics, like these things are not like unreasonable to think about, and in fact, they're just kind of like assumed that hey, Xbox is. It's not a matter of when they're going to add studios. It's just it's not a matter of if. It's a matter of when,
It's when,
right?
yeah.
So whoever is like saying, "Hey, Xbox doesn't need to buy any more studios," already, it's gonna happen. You just don't. We just don't know when it's going to be announced, right? And it's going to happen because Xbox is highly invested and committed into gaming as a core focus of their company now with Xbox. And Microsoft has made that decision. They made that choice because they've seen the growth, and I expect it to become even a bigger part of it because it's a successful part of Microsoft right now that they're seeing great results with.
Yep.
Especially based on that subscription model, which they're pushing. And guess what?
You need content.
You need content for a
Yeah.
subscription model, and it doesn't matter what form of entertainment you're in, right? So, as far as Avalanche, it makes a lot of sense. They're already working with them, supposedly on this. The Contraband game is supposedly way bigger than I actually had anticipated to begin with. Right. And they actually supposedly had seeked out Xbox because of the cloud. So that's something as well that Xbox can provide a lot of these studios with the infrastructure and all the technology that they have, right? So then you got IO Interactive. I'll say the one thing with IO, right? Um, I just want to know what that game is. Over the
We're talking about
acquisition
Project
talk,
Dragon. Yeah,
yes,
it's
like
yeah.
I just want to know what that freaking game is. Like, I'm ready to
I bet
see.
there is no dragon in it. It's just
Could you
a
imagine?
code name.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. No, for
The
sure. What
biggest
was the
spoof on gamers. Hey, Project Dragon. Guess what? It's just a code name. No dragons.
Yeah, there's no Typhoon in Contraband, right?
Yeah.
So, I just want to see what that game is, right? And I think all of these studios actually just make a lot of sense, and I think we're going to see how these relationships play out. I do know one thing: as these deals happen and these companies work together, no matter what, the relationships get stronger because they get used to working together, and that makes an acquisition more likely anyway. So we'll see what happens over time, and whether it's them or somebody else, it's going to happen at some point. I hope it's them though. I hope they do get some of those studios because they're all really really talented.
Well, I mean, look, we have heard specifically, and again, take it for what it's worth, right? A couple of weeks ago, maybe even a month ago, there was an interaction between Tim Dog, who everyone knows and loves, and Jeff Keighley of the Game Awards fame, and they specifically had a lot to say with each other, suggesting that there's something big coming to the Game Awards, or several things. But the one thing, Boxenberg, and I want to bring in on the conversation that has been left off of the table that no one seems to be talking about is, again, the assumed XO21. Right now, obviously, this is not going to be an in-person event. This is going to be a Microsoft hosted show where they are in control of the narrative. They are in control of the announcements, and it would probably be Matt Booty, Aaron Greenberg, or even Phil Spencer himself getting out there. Now, I mean, it's assumed, right, that is coming. Even they didn't miss XO20, and we were in the pandy, right? So it's assumed that we will be getting something soon. And there are rumblings, not just from Dealer Gaming. We have Randolph Thor talking about it. We have Jez Corden talking about it. We have Special Nick from Xbox Era talking about it, that there could be some big announcements coming where they are expected. Do you see the potential of these studios potentially joining Xbox Game Studios? Because I like what Jeff said, but the testing out means that we would have to wait for these games to be done for them to join. I think Microsoft already knows who's going to be joining. I don't think that they would put these games in the hands of incapable studios, at least in my opinion. Do you think we get some big announcements at the even unannounced XO21?
Okay, yeah, there's a lot to say about this, and I mean, everyone had great points already. I wanna use or take one step back first. The acquisition talk, you know that I'm in the ship is tiring for me. I hear acquisition talk for years now. We have to say years now, yeah, and it's really getting tiresome because I know you all are fans of Speculation Town, but there's actually so much going on that we could also talk about, and that's what my personal problem is with these acquisitions rumors and stuff. The thing is, obviously there are acquisitions coming. Microsoft said so. See, Satya Nadella said they are not done buying studios, so it's not a speculation; it's a fact that we know that these are coming. A lot of the insiders, and I'm not talking about Jeff here. I like Jeff Grubb, really. I'm talking just a little bit more in general. Are not really insiders. This is educated guesses. What they do is educated guesses. It's not that everyone can do that. It's also, this rumor is also an educated guess, and I'm not saying that Jeff doesn't have his sources. I'm just saying, obviously, all the studios that Xbox is working on right now are being scanned, are being tested out. If they could be a potential partner for the future, obviously that's the case. Now, if it will be IO, if it will be Asobo, whoever, all the studios that they are working on are being tested out. Just look at the track record. The studios they bought, they have all, except maybe Ninja Theory, but the rest, everyone has a certain track record with Xbox. They knew them, their way of thinking, their way of working, and sometimes great studios just don't turn out to be a good match. Platinum Games comes to mind. Yeah, it's a great studio, but obviously the chemistry in between Microsoft and Platinum didn't come to fruition and resulted in a good game. That's just educated guesses, and a lot of these so-called insiders, rumors out there are, in my opinion, just something everyone who looks at the gaming industry could have done. These kind of rumors, predictions, whatever. The same goes with the XO event. Obviously, there's something happening. If it's called XO or something else, but everyone knows that Xbox has their 20th anniversary this year, and they're not going to let that pass without doing anything. Obviously, there will be something. You don't have to be an insider to know that. That's just an educated guess.
Yeah, that's fine.
And that's what where I kind of get tired of talking about. Would Xbox or could Xbox buy this or that studio? Could they fund this or that game? I mean, look at the Project Dragon thing. The Project Dragon thing is officially just a rumor, probably a good one because the source with Jez Corden is a very reliable one. But at this point, it's a rumor, and now we're talking about the rumor from the rumor of an acquisition on a rumored game. And yeah, I'm kind of not on that hype train anymore. I think Mev said something that hit the nail on the head. It's not acquisition season. It's an acquisition. What was the phrasing you used? Acquisition era.
It's an acquisition era.
Yeah, exactly. And why is that? If we look at the gaming industry as an entertainment form, a lot of other entertainment businesses have done the same over the course of the last 50 to 80 years. In the movie industry, it's very common that smaller studios simply get acquired, get bought. Why is that? Because it's expensive to make movies. Yeah, a smaller studio can't do that. And if you have a certain ambition and you want to get to a certain level, you need a bigger company to fund you. Same as in the music industry. Acquisitions happen all the time. Smaller labels get bought. That's just how the entertainment business works. And the video game industry is a relatively young industry compared to the movie or music industry, but they are following the exact same path now. Yeah, they are coming in that region where it's just too expensive for smaller studios to make AAA games. It's also easier than ever before to make indie games and publish indie games. But if you want to have a certain quality, a certain technical aspect in your game, if you have the ambition, you're a small studio and you have the ambition to grow, you kind of need that acquisition from a bigger company. That's just normal. That's just how the industry works. That, by the way, that's how the gaming industry has been working for a long time. Sony has been acquiring studios all over the place over the last 15 years. Look at some of their acquisitions. Naughty Dog, an acquisition. Yeah. Just 2 years ago, Insomniac. This year, 5 studios alone. Almost all of I think it's only 4 studios that they have actually funded. And built from the ground up. It could be 5. I'm not sure. I have to look it up. But most of the Sony studios have been acquisitions. Ubisoft didn't grow organically. They bought, I think, like 40 studios in total over the last 20 years. Most of them are support studios. We don't even know their names. That's just how it works. You just mentioned the Embracer Group, etc. EA bought a ton of studios and shut them down. No, kidding. But the thing is, acquisitions are nothing new to the industry. They have been going on for decades. And it's just recently that we talk about them so much. Because it became such a public thing especially for the first party first party publishers to talk about that openly. And now we are at that point where we could speculate each and every week, could Xbox buy this or that one? And I think Xbox is looking probably on all studios in the gaming industry that have released a more or less successful game over the last 5 to 10 years. Could they be a potential partner? That's just normal business screening. And yeah, so I will leave it at that. I think there are enough rumors out there, a lot of speculations out there. If IO or Asobo or whatever gets acquired, obviously there is a chance for that.
I want to ask you a question.
Yeah,
if that's okay. All right, so we know that obviously you saying it, just like I agree. Acquisitions happen all the time in entertainment industry and in gaming period right now. So why is it that media outlets and certain people out there that are very loud and vocal seem to get very upset when the thought of Xbox or Microsoft gets brought up with any of these rumor talks, though?
You know, I'll answer that real quick, and I'll let Boxenberger follow me with this one. I said this to a bunch of people in a private DM. In my opinion, it's fear. The Colin comments, he's well connected, right? I have a feeling that he heard something that rubbed him the wrong way, and that Take-Two acquisition that we're all talking about, I think that there's something there, and what brings a rant like that is fear. That's just my opinion. I'm not saying he's a scared person. I'm saying that you said it, you said it on the podcast in a message. He sees the future in front of him, and he doesn't like what he sees.
Yeah. We talked about that last week on the Xbox Factor podcast. So it was an awesome discussion, by the way, for everyone who wants to listen back. But I think, yeah, you're right. There is a lot of rumors going on behind the scenes, and like you said, Colin is very well connected, and could be, and I think, like Pong said it, the video game industry is just changing. It doesn't work like it used to work like 10, 15 years ago. And now you have on the Sony side that the fact that Sony is stuck in a lot of ways in that business model and way of thinking, like the video game industry worked like 10, 15 years ago. Yeah, they're still relying on console sales, on on actual game sales, etc. That's just and not so much anymore on the generation thing, but still. They are stuck in the past, and now Microsoft is changing the gaming industry in a lot of ways, and people sometimes can't handle change. It takes them to adapt, and it especially takes them a while to think about this as a good thing if your favorite company isn't really participating in that modernization of the gaming industry. And I think, Mav, I hope that answers your question a little bit. Why are
it does. It makes sense. I mean, like it dates back to 2013 with a lot of that stuff, right?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. Exactly.
This is when there was a shift in the tide at that point because Microsoft was trying to do things different at that time, and but everybody reacted poorly to it at that time, right? And
Yeah.
but Sony was like, "Hey, no, we're sticking our ground to this," and it seems like maybe times are starting to catch up to what Xbox was trying to do back then. And now Sony's still kind of in that place where like, hey, we don't know what to do now because I thought you guys wanted this right now, but you're wanting this instead. So we're gonna have to maybe shift tides because the market share and stuff is shifting a little bit. I'm not saying that it's in Xbox's favor right now, but there's still, if you have, let's say you have 75% market share. I'm just throwing out random numbers, and another company has 25%. Right? You want to stay at 75% or higher. You don't want it to be dwindling down to 65 or 60. You know what I mean? That's not a good thing as a business person. You want to stay up there, right? So you're gonna look at what's causing you to lose that share and potentially make changes.
Yeah.
Can I just say that what makes Archimedes great is even though he doesn't necessarily like this topic that much, or he's got off that whole train, he still contributed to the conversation. That's the best part. That's why you're a Hall of Fame panel member, right?
So
period. I appreciate it.
I don't want to talk about this, but here we go.
Yeah, I mean, listen. Look. It's not brought up for because it's not a conversation that the industry is having, right? This conversation with Jeff just happened, so he's talking about it. I think it's worthy of a conversation, and I get a lot of people like we could talk every week about acquisition and what ifs. I think that there's a little bit more than what if here. I think that there is a potential when this is going to be announced. And like I said, Jeff is another one that's pretty connected. He has a good track record and worthy of a conversation. What I do want to talk about is Halo. I want to bring Halo into the conversation because this is something that took the interwebs by storm. People are still talking about it. I'm not going to get into specific numbers. Mav, you had put something in there that what is his name? Talked about that right now. Halo is
Paul Tassi.
Paul Tassi. He works for Forbes. Yes, thank you for that. And he's bringing into the conversation that right now Halo is leading the conversation in regards to a bunch of numbers that he personally ran. Now, Zemi and I were having a conversation. Zemi asked, "Are we really going to talk about the search numbers?" And the answer is no, we're not. But I do want to bring up our experiences playing the Halo beta. But I also kind of want to transition that conversation into the graphics. The gameplay, in my opinion, was the best Halo gameplay I have personally had in years. I cannot remember having as much fun in Halo 4 or Halo 5. Now, I know Warzone is great. I know a lot of people really dig it, and I did not play much of it because, to be honest with you, Halo single player usually propelled me into the multiplayer, and I walked away with Halo 5's multiplayer as just very ho-hum, very second tier. And again, that's my opinion. And I did not get into Warzone. I played a couple of matches. Sure, I played it for a little bit, but it's usually for me, one equals the other. One propels me, whether it be multiplayer to single player or single player to multiplayer. And what we got this weekend, which is a beta, which is a flighting, these are the graphics are the graphics. This is not polished. This is not, in the oven till it's done. And I walked away unbelievably impressed to say that if the multiplayer looks this good, I can only imagine what the single player is going to look like, behave like, and potentially be a rebirth of the Master Chief, something that we've all wanted to see, something that the Xbox needs in a really, really, really big way. It would be fantastic to see Halo Infinite be in the Game of the Year talk. And there are some people, good friend of this show and writer for the Xbox era, One Bad Mother, said that, and I quote, Halo, the flighting was already, for him personally, his game of the year. And this is just the beta. So could just imagine what the final product is going to look like. I do want to go first to Zemi Game. Zemi, you and I had an absolute blast. I literally was laugh riding the entire time, simply because not only are you really good at it, but it's the commentary. What are your takeaways from the beta? But more importantly, is it safe to assume that we could really be getting something special in the single player that's coming up in December 8th? You're muted, brother. Sorry
Happens
about
to
that.
the best of us.
Yeah, it
Happens
certainly
to the
does.
best
Me
of
all
us.
the time. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I just kind of want to like reiterate on something I said last week whenever we were talking about like the same subject. I said that, you know, this Halo game feels a lot like Call of Duty, and I still stand by that. I do 100%. I still stand by that. I think that this is definitely the Halo that feels closest to Call of Duty more than any other game in the franchise. 100%. I believe that. That's my personal opinion. But you know, after having a few conversations with some people, I also said last week that I thought it was a lot of fun. But after having some conversations, you know, private conversations with just some people that also heard the show, like they thought that I just absolutely hated the game for some reason. I do not hate the game.
Got that, to be honest with
Yeah,
you.
yeah. I just want to reiterate that I had a blast with Halo Infinite's multiplayer. I think it is a lot of fun. I also think it plays a lot like Call of Duty in my opinion, but I also love Call of Duty, so that's not necessarily a bad thing. Overall, I think, you know, like I said, it's a blast. Graphically speaking, you know, it's a gorgeous game. You know, it's honestly probably the most fun I've had in a multiplayer game in a very, very, very long time. I mean, I've transitioned a lot to playing single player games just because multiplayer games have just, you know, in the last probably 4 years just really bored the heck out of me. But Halo Infinite, you know, stands a really good chance of pulling me back in to wanting to play multiplayer games, you know, every week with a bunch of friends and party up and all that different stuff. So 100% absolutely love Halo Infinite's multiplayer. But I don't think it feels 100% Halo, right? Which, I have some issues with, but not enough issues to not, of course, play the game. As far as the single player goes, you know, I am still very, very hesitant on the single player. I think graphically it's going to look great because, you know, the multiplayer looks great. But my biggest concern is going to be with the story, right? You know, and I know that the trailers that we've seen look really, really good, but the trailers and all the marketing materials that we saw for 5 looked really, really good, and the game really wasn't that good in my opinion. So, you know, that's really my one hesitancy. The other, concern that I have is the progression of the game with it being open world. I did not like the open world Gears, gameplay, and the progression system in Gears 5. And so I'm kind of concerned of how that's going to work in Halo. Those are really my only two concerns for the single player. Graphically, I think it's going to be great. I think the voice acting is going to be great. I think the cinematics are going to be fantastic. Really, what it boils down to me personally as a gamer going into the campaign, my concerns are progression and the actual overall story, which are two things that we're really not going to know about until we get our hands on the game, I feel, and actually play. That's a big reason why I'm keeping my expectations so low for Halo Infinite's campaign now, because I just don't want to be disappointed. As far as the multiplayer goes, like I said plenty of times, during my little speech here, I think it is fantastic. I would almost go as far to say as it's quite possibly my multiplayer game of the year. I still need to play, Halo Infinite, the actual game,
Right.
and get to see all the maps and all the fun, tools that we get to use to kill people. And then I also have to play Battlefield, 2042 before I can really make that determination that Halo is my multiplayer game of the year. As far as single player, I'm very excited to jump in on December 8th and play it. But I just don't feel comfortable saying that I have, high expectations that it's going to be the most amazing thing, because I still have those two concerns that, have not been fixed for me yet.
I mean, listen, you make a lot of sense, but I am on the opposite end of the spectrum regarding Gears 5. Like, look, here's the thing, okay? And I'm going to give this off to Pong. Pong, I don't know whether you agree with me or not. The issue with Gears is that we had Gears 1, 2, 3, 4, and Judgment to go down the same alley, to find the same tags, to see the same burnt out buildings and the broken down cars and skulls and skeletons. We've seen that. Okay. What we've never saw was the overarching world of Gears, right? We never got a chance to explore the world of Gears. It was always very tight corridor, A, B, C, end of chapter 1, move to chapter whatever. That to me is boring as F. I'm not saying that any of the Gears games were boring. I'm saying that I thought it was necessary for the coalition to make some changes. Now, obviously, we saw that they made some monster changes in leadership with Rod Ferguson going to Blizzard, and we have heard, and I'm paraphrasing, but we have heard that the sentiment of the team was, now that Rod is not there, they could make the Gears they want. Now, I am not saying that. This is not coming from me. This is what I heard. This is what was written about. Is it true? I don't know. Maybe Rod Ferguson wanted the very, specific Gears, follow this cookie cutter pattern. I don't want open world. I don't want this. I want it this way. And maybe that's why he left, because people were calling for it on his team. As for Halo Infinite, look, we've had Halo 1, 2, 3, Reach, ODST, 4, 5. The pattern has been the same for a multitude of releases. This is a new era for 343. This is a new era for Master Chief. And I think it would almost be a detriment to the franchise to release the same old Halo. I think that we need to explore the Halo ring. I want to go to one part where it's snowing, one part where there's desert, one part where there's potentially a jungle.
May I jump in here?
Yeah, absolutely. Come on, jump in.
I couldn't agree more, Boom, because the thing really is about all these franchises is, if you don't innovate on them,
they get a little long in the tooth.
Yeah. But the narrative out there will be, it's always the same. Yeah, and that is what happens.
It's just Gears. Halo, or it's just Gears.
And obviously, that's the difficult part to do, to really innovate on something and still keep the original formula, because a lot of people said, well, that's not Gears anymore, or the narrative could be for Halo, then that's not Halo anymore. Yeah, that's always the possibility if you change the basic formula. But if you don't do that, you stay in that same what's the English word? You always lane, yeah, probably. And then people get simply bored and say, oh, another Halo, another Gears game. And that is what I appreciated about 5. They tried to innovate with that, and I really loved it, because they nailed a story that the world didn't feel too open worldish with like a lot of fetch quests or stuff like that, but you could still play the game very linear if you wanted to, but if you wanted to explore that beautiful world, there was something to explore, and I appreciated that, and I hope they continue down that road. But please continue, Sammy.
Oh, no, I mean, I was kind of pretty much done, but I mean, I agree with you, like in the sense that I think games should innovate. Absolutely, they should, and I don't think ultimately them putting in a open world, environments or progression, kind of systems into games is a bad thing. For me, more personally, and this is all my opinion at the end of the day and what I want as a gamer, but for me personally, I just thought that Gears of War was very, very lackluster on side content. I thought that there was a big open world, but there was no reason for me to really go out and explore it. There really wasn't any NPCs to really talk to, or any massive amounts of great quality quests that really pulled me in and made me want to go and look for extra things to do, right? A lot of it was just kind of explore and try to find some collectibles and hidden guns and that type of stuff, and I just kind of thought that was boring. And ultimately, whenever I was playing Gears of War, whenever I, was sliding around in the desert on the sled and like the snow area, it just felt like a prolonged cutscene more than, actually going around and exploring and so on and so forth. And that's, my real hesitancy is that, it's not always the easiest thing taking a linear game and making it open world. And to me, Gears of War, failed in that area for me personally, and I just don't want that to happen in Halo. And because I haven't seen really a whole lot of gameplay on how exploring that open world, works and so on and so forth, and mostly it's just a dev said this. That's still a concern for me personally, looking forward to playing this game in December, because I just don't know. I'm still going to play it, but that is a concern for me as a player, just based off of what I've seen with Gears of War's open world. It just did not impress me the same way that it impressed you, both Archimedes and Boom.
I mean, listen, everyone's entitled to their opinion. Of course, you were entitled to yours. We may not agree, but we also understand where you're coming from. And each gamer is going to have their own way of looking forward or not looking forward to it. Pong, I want to grab your opinion on this. Look, one of the things that, again, this is speculation, which is why I'm going to you next, because you know how to handle these questions. About 18 months ago, there was a Reddit leak where not only did they talk about the flood coming back, obviously the Banished being the focal point of the story, where we're not getting the main baddie, we're getting his lieutenant who potentially has killed Locke. He's wearing his helmet on his part of his armor, so we don't know what happened with that. They mentioned something about side story content, and the first one that we saw come to the conversation, and it was dropped into our laps in the cinematic, is Commander Agria. It's Agrina. Yeah, it's Agrina. That's how you pronounce it, I suppose. She's obviously a Spartan. She was found as a kid, and she now trains the recruits. This is a side story I believe is going to be the first one that we're going to get. Getting back to the single player content based on the graphics, I gotta be honest with you. If we get the same graphics with all the bells and whistles and the polish that we're expecting, I am very excited. As a matter of fact, I honestly couldn't sit here. It would probably be 50-50 on single player versus multiplayer for me, because of what we've seen in the multiplayer flighting multiple times. I'm interested to get your opinion. Where do you fall on what some of the things that Zemi said, some of the things I said, your personal opinion on the single player campaign, which obviously is dropping the same day as the multiplayer on December 8th?
Yeah, I look, it's great points made. Okay. Again, for me, Gears 5, like Zemi said, was open world just for the sake of being open world, and they didn't do enough to make it populated, to make it feel like there was a reason why you were traversing the open world. Personally, again, for me, the direction that Gears has gone in, I'm old school. I like the dark. I like the / almost horror aspects of the first 3. Okay. I like that mood. And I don't, personally for me, again, I enjoyed Gears 4, enjoyed Gears 5, but I don't find them to be as fulfilling as the first 3 were. Now, to talk about as far as the open world aspect goes, again, if you're just going to make an open world just to make an open world, don't do it.
Right.
If you don't have a plan in place, don't do it. Right. If you don't have a reason to have it for that, other than to make people feel like they have a bigger game than previously, don't do that. And I kind of feel Gears 5 was a little bit of that. And it was just to make a change to say, hey, we're going in a new direction. So for me, with Halo's open world, like you were just talking about, Boom, I think the side story content is going to be there. I have faith that 343 with their 10-year plan. Again, this is a games as a service. Like Staten has said that time and time again now in these interviews over the past 4 or 5 months. How he keeps bringing that up, that games as a service are never really finished. So to me, I think that they have a bigger plan in place for Halo specifically, and I think this open world, semi-open world, hub world, whatever it's going to turn into be, could be something special. It could be something that actually does work. And I think that, like you were talking about, Boom, with the side content, with them showing off individual character stories to add to the lore of Halo, which we already know is expansive. It's one of the biggest.
And I think we're going to get that. I think we're going to get that more this release than we've ever gotten in any Halos before it.
Correct. And I think, from a speculation side of things, since we don't know exactly what they're going to do, for me, it's exciting as a casual Halo fan because I like the side story stuff. ODST is my favorite, right, out of all the Halos, right? And it's because the story was different from just the Master Chief story. And for me, if they can go ahead and provide that, and I can get new slices to the lore of Halo as they expand out this open world, as I can go to different places, experience different things, whether it's, it's on the ring or maybe even off the ring. That to me is the exciting part of it. And from listening to what everybody, the little bits that we've gotten, I think that's what they're really going to do. Also, in an open world setting, once they have the co-op in there, okay, that's why it was, I was on the disappointed side of the co-op not being there at launch, is if they have made this world complete, if they have made the ring someplace where you can go explore and get into trouble and cause chaos randomly, that to me is huge. Like, I love those types of games, especially with friends, right? If we can just go drive off towards those mountains there and come across, a flood area or whatever the case may be,
Pelican or something
right,
like that.
Right. Just something crazy, a random battle happening, right, where you can insert yourself or you can sit back and just watch what's going on. That's the stuff that I love to see. So, and I think that they do have plans for that. Again, it's unfortunate the co-op's not going to be there, but I think even as a single player, if I can just go randomly choose a point that I see and I can just run that way, and it's not just wide open, barren world where there's nothing's going on, but I can come across a base here, I can come across a fight here, or whatever the case may be. That to me is cool. And that's what I love about open worlds. I love that exploration aspect. Give me a reason to go explore, and you've got me. Okay. Yeah. I get lost that way, right? That's why Ubisoft games to me are my fast food, right? Because I know what I'm going to get, and I can do a Far Cry, I can do Assassin's Creed. And I know even if I don't feel like doing the main mission, I can sit there for 3 hours just exploring and find random stuff to do and find random reasons to keep playing the game and have a great time. That's cool to me. So I think that that's where they're going to try to take this. Again, we'll have to wait and see, but I have absolute confidence in 343 that they're going to have this laid out, that they have a roadmap and they understand what it's going to take to keep people engaged, especially, again, 10 years is a number that they throw out there. We don't know if it's going to happen. The first Destiny was supposed to be 10 years. It didn't work out for Bungie, right? But they came back with number 2, and now they've got, one heck of a game going on over there. Yeah. People keep going back to it. I think they understand, 343 understands that that's what they need to do to make Halo the success, the long-term success that they and Xbox want from it, because this is going to be a moneymaker for them. Make no mistake about it. This is something they are leaning heavily on with Game Pass. The multiplayer is free. They're going to sell all the armor, all that good stuff, the season passes. That's cool. No problems there for me at all. I don't. But the single player is going to have to be something that also draws people in and gives you a completely different experience for those people who may not want to jump into the multiplayer. They want to just experience Halo for what it is from the story standpoint. And I think that they do understand that completely. As far as the graphics go, after playing the multiplayer, we know multiplayers almost I don't know if there's a single multiplayer that looks better than its single player counterpart.
Yes,
I don't think that that's happened yet. So if this multiplayer looks the way it does and it's cross gen, again, people like to put it out there like, oh, this is not next gen, like current gen, whatever. Look, it's not supposed to be, but from what we've seen, the Slipspace engine is doing extremely well with the cross-gen version, right? So I've watched video on the original VCR. Can you tell it's on the original VCR? Yeah, the frames stink and the graphics are downgraded a little bit, but does it still look like Halo? Does it still look and play pretty well? Yeah, from what I've seen, it actually does in the multiplayer. So I expect that when we get the single player that, we may not get the ray tracing that they promised originally. I don't think that's happening. Some of that kind of stuff. But I think that we're going to be very impressed with what we get because some of what I've seen in the multiplayer looks damn good, right?
Looks
it
incredible.
Looks
Yeah,
really,
100%.
really good.
Yeah.
And so I think I'm expecting the single player to be even better, to have more details, all that good stuff that we come to expect out of a single player. So no, I don't have any fears as far as the graphics go. I think we're going to get exactly what we expected to get. It looks like a Halo game. It plays like a Halo game. And that's exactly what people have been asking for. And I think truly, at the end of the day, again, casual Halo fan here, but I played them. I love them all for their individuality. But I think this really could, if they nail the single player, this is going to be considered the best Halo of all time. I think it really has the chance for that, which is saying a lot from where we were and people's expectations a year ago. That's a testament to what 343's done here. So I think I think they've nailed it. I think they've got it down. I think they finally got their vision straight. I think that they finally put it all together. And I think when the single player drops, and I think we're going to probably see it probably in November for the 20th anniversary. I think we definitely will get that glimpse of the single player at that point. And I think people will be impressed.
Yeah, I expect that the XO is going to happen. I believe it is going to encompass the 20th anniversary celebration. And I believe that we are going to get our official full-on reveal for Halo multiplayer. Single player, which is something we've all been looking forward to. Mav, I want to grab your attention, but let me just thank a couple of people. Gerald Mack, a.k.a. Makilla Gorilla, best name ever, drops an outstanding $5 super chat. Says, shout out to Xbox Factor, Mr. Podcast, Mr. Boomstick, Pong, Zemi, and Mav. Big salute, gentlemen. Thank you for that. Drawn TJ drops an additional $5 super chat and says, what if they get those studios you named and they got Crytek and WB? Wouldn't that be crazy way to break the internet? Oh, yeah. Going back to the other conversation, it absolutely would be. And again, I think there's something in play for Microsoft that we were talking privately that entertainment is going to be at the center of the conversation, and that WB thing is a potential as well. Gamer by Choice drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, I think Sony's gaming division may be acquired by or will partner with a bigger entity to have to compete in the future. I mean, they did make a deal with Netflix, right? But Mav, let's get your opinion. What are your thoughts on the single player being as great as the multiplayer?
Highly likely. I don't know, man. I mean, they've proven themselves with the multiplayer so far. That was a lot of people liked 5 a lot, but they just didn't sit on their ass and make a duplicate, right? They really went back to find the core essence of what makes a Halo game a Halo game. And they've made Halo Infinite multiplayer the most Halo-y thing I've ever played, right? With this Halo Infinite.
I agree, 100%. Yeah.
The maps feel classic. A big team battle is improved, better than it's ever been before. The new weapons they've put into the game add to the experience. Don't feel like out of place, right? there's so many cool things, and you saw all those clips going around Twitter and all over social media, right? Because of the new abilities and the new weapons that just allow for these crazy moments to happen. And now we've created these things like Halo moments. You got like trick shots being done by like prominent streamers and stuff. Like this is absolutely amazing to see a Halo make that kind of presence, and with how the vehicles felt to the weapons and the traversal, and then you add the grapple shot and everything in there. If I can take the core of what they made and apply it to a single player open semi-open world, or however it's designed, if it feels the same way when I'm moving around and when I'm shooting the enemies and playing Halo, it's got it for me, right? Story wise, we'll see. Like that's the other key part of this. I don't know where the narrative direction is going to go in this game, right? And that's going to play a key focus, because part of my thing with Halo 5 was it actually just kind of left me in a depressed mood. Like it sucks, like it wasn't.
I right there, I'm right there with you.
It was like, at the end of Endgame, or, or sorry, Infinity War, right? And you're like, oh, wow, everybody's just disappeared, right? Well, that was a great movie, but yeah, I
A
left kind of
depressing
like
ending for sure.
depressing, and it's kind of like Halo 5. I kind of had that feeling throughout, because the story was going in a place that I was like, man, I like the game. The gameplay feels good and stuff, but I have this like oppressive feeling over me knowing what's going on right now, and I didn't want that. I wanted to feel like a hero, and stuff, So it was kind of off-putting at times with the narrative, but they still
Plus, those
built a
Prometheans are
quality
just
game.
garbage. But that's
Yes, dude,
yeah. Thank
100%. The ba
garbage.
it's like the with the Banished too, they have the opportunity to go back to like the core basics of Halo. Another a big question was like, how can they bring the Covenant back to full force narratively and all this stuff? But like, they don't have to. Like now, you got the Banished now, right? Like
Right.
they created this thing that, and if you haven't played Halo Wars 2, make sure you go play it before you play Halo Infinite,
Or at
because
least
it
we'll
really
Including the
YouTube and watch.
DLC. Including
Yes.
the Halo Wars 2 DLC.
Yeah,
Yes, it must.
that'll go to YouTube and just watch the cinematics, because people have put them all together, so you could literally watch a Halo movie.
Yes, it's just based on like, and it's probably different core teams making the multiplayer and in the campaign. And I know that like Joseph Staten probably had more of a say in changing what has happened with the campaign over the last year,
Yep.
right? As opposed to the multiplayer. But it leads me to believe that they have an understanding now. Like they've really stopped trying to be what they think other people want. Like the people that are saying you need to modernize Halo because you need loadouts, you need this, you need that, you need this because Call of Duty has it, because Battlefield has it, so you need to do it in this game. Instead, they just like went back to the drawing board and is like, screw all that stuff. What is Halo? Let's evolve it from the core essence of what it always has been. And they fixed the core elements that it needed improvement on as a Halo game. And I think they're going back to the open world stuff, right? Halo, I've always felt had the most potential out of all of these games to be that, because if you go back to Halo CE, when you step out of that Pelican and you walk onto the Halo ring for the first time, you get that big, wide open, vast view, and then you get to walk around that big open environment. It gave you that feeling back then, even
It
though they
absolutely
kind of
did.
tricked
Yeah,
you.
it sure did.
They tricked us, right? Like it wasn't really that open, but it felt like it. And now they're able to bring that to, I think, what the original, if they could have had the ability to do this back then, I think they would have. You know what I mean? So I think this is what this is all about. It's about redefining the core essence of what Halo is. And I think the campaign is going to bring it. And because Joe Staten is on board with this, I have the utmost confidence, right? So I think that's going to be good. And I want to just chime in on the Gears thing real quick, right? Because I was holding my tongue a little bit. Gears 5, great game. I liked it a lot better than 4.
Me
Okay?
too. Leaps and bounds better than 4. Yeah.
But to Pong and Zimmy's credit, the open area in between all of the things you could do was a vast empty openness of nothing where you're just sliding around on a jet ski or whatever the ski thing, right? So you're basically like this big open area and you're riding around and then you go to an isolated portion that turns into gears again, right? And then you go get back on it, then you go to another you roam around and you go to another isolated portion where the game turns into gears again. Because they just like isolated like these little gears segments into like different corners of this open world map that you have to travel to. So I would love Gears to do open world, but not with just like a big open plain in the middle that you travel to the different locations to. I want it to feel like a big open environment that everything matters, right? So that's the key difference. I think that Gears didn't really need Gears 5 didn't need the open world with the way that the game was constructed because they could have literally just put all of those elements on top, like next to each other, and you could have just had the same experience without having to drive around on the thing, right? But if they take like Gears 6 and really make a big, rich environment full of stuff to do, it makes a lot of sense. And I want like random hordes of locusts walking around, like patrolling like these environments
Yes.
and stuff.
Yes.
Right.
You know, like
Make the world feel
stuff like that.
lived in. Yes, I
Correct.
Yeah,
agree.
it was just open sand, right? So there was a lot of I agree with Pong how it was kind of felt like it was kind of forced. And the thing is with Halo Infinite though, is because of the long-term investment with the campaign on this, and a lot of people don't think that the campaign is games of service, right? And when Joe Staten used the excuse of no co-op at launch, he said this. He said, and really, it's a live service game anyway. Is this really never done? Right? You can't say the campaign's never done and not have people expect there to be years of content going ahead if you're using it as an excuse for the co-op, right? So I think there's a definite plan to keep bringing content to this game, and what we see at launch is not going to be the end of the story with Halo Infinite. I think it's going to be this thing that's going to keep evolving over time, and we're going to get more story. We're going to get more things happening, and I'm really excited for that. So I just hope when it launches, it still feels like a total complete experience.
No, I
I think it
absolutely
will.
agree. I think it will. I don't think we're going to be disappointed. I honestly,
I agree.
I can't wait. Again, for me, um, I have missed the Halo lore in gaming. I know that you can go to the books, and I know there's been a couple of smaller animes and films, and we're getting the new show series that was on Showtime that now is part of um Paramount. We're going to be able to watch it there, and I'm super stoked for it. But I'm looking forward for an in-game experience, and I actually think we're going to get it. And I think that if these rumors of these stories come true, are any indication, we're going to have a lot of content. But like for me, just playing the flight and being a part of all 3 of them, specifically the last one, which was this weekend, the graphics I thought were just incredible. I thought it ran really well. It played like Halo. I know it's been compared to the most Halo game I've ever played. I've heard that's been said, and I agree. What it did for me is solidify what the single player is going to be graphically, gameplay wise. I walked away extremely impressed. But I want to get Box and Burger's opinion on this. You got a chance to to play with multiple people, not only on this panel, but through other circles that we roll in. What were your experiences, and can you correlate what we saw in the flighting to what we're potentially going to get in the single player campaign, which a lot of people are looking forward to?
Okay, let me first talk about the multiplayer because that's easy to describe. They absolutely nailed it. It was so fantastic to play Halo again. And I'm usually not the biggest competitive multiplayer guy. It's something I gave up when I became a father. I just don't have the time anymore to practice enough to become good. But Halo really took me back to those memories of Halo 2, 3, even 4. I played a lot of, even though the multiplayer wasn't that great, I still played a ton of Halo 4. I love Halo multiplayer, and they really nailed that core gameplay. And that's really tough to do. And I have to advertise my video now because I made a video about it.
Absolutely, put it out there. Yeah, you did make a video, and it was absolutely fantastic.
Thank you. The thing is, it's hard to modernize Halo. Halo launched 20 years ago without all the conveniences we have today in modern day shooters, like sprint, like aiming down sight. That stuff didn't exist in Halo. The problem is, at that time, the shooter space was basically Halo on console. There wasn't really much out there on consoles. Of course, there were like GoldenEye on the N64, stuff like that. But Halo was the first shooter on a console I can think of that actually gave you that full PC class experience, and that was special. Now today we have tons of shooters out there, and really good ones. We have so many good shooters that really nail that gunplay, that the movement. I mean, here we're looking at one of those games, Titanfall. They nailed. There are so many great shooters out there, and then it's really hard to bring Halo into that modern day era without losing what makes Halo special, that skill-based shooting, that on-point gunplay, and I think this time 343 absolutely nailed it. It feels incredible to play Halo Infinite. I was so surprised, and I'm not just talking about the 120 frames per second mode. Even the 60 FPS mode plays amazing. Butter smooth. We have that skill-based shooting again. You still have sprint, you have aiming down sight, and it still feels like Halo. And I have to disagree here kind of with Semi that it feels like a Call of Duty. To me, it doesn't. That is what I loved about it. It doesn't feel like that generic shooter we have out there. Outside of the campers and snipers we saw on the big team battle map, those were
those snipers were vicious, bro. They
players, were other out of besides them. I think Halo still has that unique feeling to it, and that is I was so in love with that, and I'm looking absolutely forward to December 8th. Then another thing that happened with the multiplayer beta is actually the community itself. I've seen rarely people talk about it, but Halo 2 and 3 were something that really brought the Xbox community together. Back in those times.
That's a great comment, dude. Please touch on that some further, because I think you're onto something with that. The community was so excited, and everyone was tweeting and going on the socials. It was something to be had, and this was just the beta. This wasn't even the launch.
This was just the beta. Yes, exactly. And I think we should also talk about that aspect of Halo, because Halo 2, let's start there. Halo 2 was that first Xbox Live game, that proper first Xbox Live game that really brought the Xbox community together. And actually, it's the reason why Xbox became my main console. I have them all. I always had all consoles, but somehow I switched over to Xbox being my main console during the OG generation, because there was this amazing community. Back in the days we had forums and internet on the internet. We didn't have Twitter or something to align, but we were full of forums where we met online people I've never been able to play before with. Just came together, and we had the same effect now. We had that with Halo 3 again, and now again I've seen everyone playing it. When I went on my Xbox, I've seen like 30 different parties that I could join, and people just randomly dropped in this party. Hey, play a match with me. Can
you jumped into ours. You just dropped in.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm here. Okay, let's
Can you
play.
guys imagine when we get full-on custom games in
Dude.
Halo Infinite?
No.
The stuff we're going to be able to create and set up
Oh yeah.
on these big maps.
I
be
missed
awesome.
out on the Wandering Dutch. I mean, he had 16, 18 people. He
Yeah.
was swapping people out. People were waiting.
That was
It's
so
just-
funny because
was-
Forza Irvin and I, we started that party. We were two, and then we said, hey, we need a couple of other guys. And we just randomly went on our friends list, invited everyone we seen online. Pong jumped in, Icy Rain jumped in, Asante jumped in. Then, of course, the midweek mix-up grew. And then suddenly, after like playing 2 matches, Wandering Dutch just said, by the way, guys, I'm streaming this. And we were all like, no, including chat, because we were just trash talking everything. And it just was so awesome. And it's something really, when did that happen for the last time?
It has been a long time, dude. Yeah.
Yes. And then I jumped over to Paul's party. He's also in the chat here. He invited me, played a couple of matches with those guys. I jumped over to you guys. It was so awesome to see that. And that is something special about Halo. How it unites and brings the community together. And somehow 343 nailed that aspect of the game as well. Yeah, it was that great unifier of the Xbox community, and I loved that. Can't wait for the December release. And then let's talk about some of the improvements. You already touched on it. Graphics. For that, I would really recommend my video. I tried to put a side-by-side comparison of the demo we got last year from 2020, and obviously it's not the same map and levels. The one was single player, the other is multiplayer now, but I tried to use similar scenes where we have like in both scenes grass or rocks and same animations like reload animations, and you can really see how 343 has improved the game, and it's absolutely amazing. The textures are super sharp, really. In an incredible work that they did there with these details. The lighting is really well. So from the technical aspect, absolutely gorgeous game. And now, you guys said it, we have had that in the multiplayer. And if we think about the single player, that's just so much easier to do graphics. And that's why we usually have the higher level of detail in single player campaigns. We have other things implemented there, like more particle effects, like better physics simulation, etc., etc. And so, but even if we get the single player campaign on the same level than we have the multiplayer right now, it would already be a gorgeous game, but we can expect a little bit more there, and it's going to be awesome. And to the aspect of the open world and story and everything, well, I think we talk a bit too much about it really being open world. They said it's not an open world game. Don't think Assassin's Creed. It's more semi-open world with larger areas where you have side stuff to do, like optional missions. And they also talked about what Pong and Mav said, what they want out of a game, that there will be these events happening on the map, where you can just jump into a certain fight or just drive by. And they said that this will be there, that this will be the way how they designed the open world. They talked about that extensively in one of their blog posts, I think in February or March it was. And so we have to think more like giant open areas. And then I think I immediately thought of Destiny, like, where you have these open maps, and then when you go to a certain region, you automatically start a certain mission where it becomes then more linear. But when you come back, you have that open world hub area where where just stuff happens. And I think that this is what I have in my mind, what the open world Halo ring is. But we have yet to see that. They have to explain how this open or semi-open world will work, and how side missions will work in a Halo game. But I'm really looking forward. I love that they take a different approach, that they try to modernize the Halo franchise in that respect. And so the only question for me is, can they nail the story? I think they heard the feedback loud and clear about what the community thought about this story and way they took the Halo narrative in Halo 5. I think that feedback was loud and clear. Let's hope they nail that. From a gameplay aspect, I have zero doubt that this game will be absolutely fun. And even if the story is not top notch and just okay, we will still have a lot of fun playing that game. I have zero doubt about that. And one last thing with that, I want to close. I think that the beta couldn't have happened at a better time, because we have had too much controversy around that game, and Halo really needed that push in that positive direction. And outside of Kotaku, I have seen everyone loving the game. So it's absolutely awesome. I can't wait to see more.
Yeah, I agree. I'm looking forward to it. Folks, this has been an incredible nearly 2 hours. I hope that you enjoyed the show. I have to catch up with some of the Super Chats, and we get everyone out of here because obviously, this is during the week, so everyone's still got a lot of stuff to do. We had a couple of Super Chats come in earlier. One is from Steezy Bone, drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, "This winter, Master Chief is taking back the crown." I absolutely agree. Look, here's the thing. I know that Battlefield is probably going to be really good. I mean, we saw a bunch of, the beta is going live. I think even today it might be going live. So people are going to get a chance to play it. Look, I'm going to be honest with you.
It goes live tomorrow.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm a Battlefield guy more than Call of Duty. But I'm going to be honest with you. Like, I canceled my pre-order because, I don't know if it's dropping in the Game Pass. And the truth is, if you gave me a choice between Battlefield and Halo multiplayer, well, Battlefield is going to get not played. So I'd rather not spend $108 for it to sit on my backlog. So I'm going to.
It's an EA game, so eventually it's going to come to Game Pass, right? Because of EA Play.
Well, there you go, and there is that as well. I mean, Halo is going to be the mecca of multiplayers this year. I think that we know that they're going to deliver on the multiplayer because based on what we played, everyone that is anyone. Look, I said this privately, and I probably shouldn't say this publicly because I'm going to lose some subs over it. But I'm going to tell you this right now: if you are someone that actually played the Halo flighting, whether it be the first, second, or third, and you're trying to troll and you're trying to call it garbage or whatever, you might as well just give yourself the fraud alert because you're not a gamer. And maybe Halo isn't for you. I don't know what to tell you. I thought it was the best Halo I've personally played since Halo 3, and that's going back a while. So again, if you're insulted, it wasn't meant that way. But if you are, don't be a fraud. There was a lot to like about it, and I honestly can't wait. And I think that if they deliver on both the single player and multiplayer, which I believe they are going to deliver, and I say they 343. I think this is going to be in the Game of the Year talk. And if they hit for me, it will be my Game of the Year 2021, hands down, just because they delivered the ultimate package. You're getting multiplayer and you're getting single player, and Master Chief is being done in a way that is, represents the hero that he is. And I honestly cannot wait. We also had Danny Passion official drop a $2 super chat and says, for me, Gears 5 is the best one so far. Hivebusters. Yeah, I would love to see what they do with Gear 6, but I would love to see what they're going to do continuing the story of Hivebusters. I thought it was magnificent. It was incredible. Iron Mike drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, people blame loadouts on 343, but they started in Halo Reach. Halo 4 felt like a progression of where Bungie left Halo multiplayer, and with Reach, I mean, again, it's just a matter of opinion. I thought graphically 4 was great. I did not like the multiplayer. I thought 5 story was just awful, and they know it. They know it was awful because they sold us a false product. All these stories and listening to the podcast and everything that led up to that's not what we got. So that's why I was disappointed. Thank you for the generosity, Iron Mike. And Steezy Bones drops an additional $5 super chat and says, I've waited to say this for years, but Halo is back and looking better than ever. Indeed, it is. And I have a feeling that, look, I'll put it to you this way. We could talk about Halo. Pong could come up here, Mav, Boxenberger, Zemi, and we can gush about Halo. You can hear it on the Iron Lord. You can hear it on Dealer. You can hear it on Randall Thor's Xbox 2. And we're all gushing because we're Xbox guys, right? But this is how you know they did it right and they have arrived, is when the media, who has been very, very vicious and very, very almost one way when it comes to covering Xbox, when they're out here writing articles that are positive and they're gushing over Halo. I mean, look, I don't agree with it. I think it's a bad look. You know, Zemi and I were talking about this before you guys, anybody jumped in. Right now, IGN is reviewing the beta. Now, Zemi, your answer to that was, well, because it's the most searched thing. They want to get into clickbait. They want to get in on the conversation, and they need those clicks for, you know, keeping the lights on, so to speak. So I'm not surprised. Do I agree with it? No, I think it's in bad taste. I think that, you know, you can get out there and do a podcast, unlock the special edition, talking about your experience with Halo and how excited you are. To review it, though, it's not. I don't like it, and I don't care if they give it a 10. I'm still not going to like it because it's a beta. Like,
yeah, let me just add in. I do not agree with reviewing betas whatsoever. Like, do not review a beta. Now, a game that's in early access that a consumer has to pay for,
different.
100% review it, right? But a beta, no, you do not review a beta.
Yeah, it's bad.
But I can understand why they're doing it.
No, we all understand. It's money. It's clicks. So of course they want to get in on the conversation. Real quick, Drawn TJ. Wow, dude, he drops an additional $5 super chat, and I think we're all feeling this. He says that I have Halo withdrawals. Miss it already, dude. I would play bots. Like, I would just be the bot master. I wish they would have left the bots open, but you know, whatever. They had to close it down, and we don't know if we're getting another one. That's the sad part. We may actually have to wait all the way to December and wish the next 2 months away, and I don't like doing that. Jay Jigga, friend of the show, he drops a $2 super chat and says, delay the game. Just kidding. Great show, Boom. Yeah, I love it. But Zemi, let's get everyone out of here. Please, by all means, tell everyone where they could reach out to you, potentially strike up a conversation, and more importantly, check out your incredible website, constantgamer.com, and also where can people subscribe to your YouTube channel?
Yeah, absolutely. So you guys can go and follow me on YouTube. The name is Constant Gamer. I post a bunch of gaming news, theory videos, just a ton of gaming content. So definitely go check that out. Watch a video or two, and if you like the content, you know, click the subscribe button. If you don't, then just leave the channel and never come back, I guess. That's perfectly cool. You guys can also follow me on Twitter. It's @ZimmyGames. I post a bunch of gaming related stuff on there as well, but also a lot of stuff that's kind of just going on in my life. Like if I cook a delicious meal and I want to make everyone hungry, I'll typically post a picture of the food that I made. And of course, you know, I just recently started playing Tomb Raider, so I had to share a screenshot of that game. And my God, does Rise of the Tomb Raider look just fantastic. But yeah, so, you know, definitely follow me on Twitter @ZimmyGames. Boom, as always, this has been a fantastic show, man, and I can't wait you know, until next Tuesday to do it again.
Yeah, me too. And thank you so much. I'm glad that you were here to be a part of this each and every week. Next up, Pong Soul, brother. Let's get you one out of here. You got some stuff coming up. You're obviously going to be on Friday's Xbox Ultimate podcast with the Magnificent Seven, but you also got your own thing going on Saturday mornings that I'm always tuning into as I'm making breakfast for Mr. and Mrs. Boom. Talk about that. What do you got going on this week? Have you already talked to Steel Rain? Have you figured out what you're going to talk about?
No, we never do. That's the fun part about living
shoot
split
from
screen.
the hip, and you know
we
what?
do.
That does make for some good podcasting.
It's the complete opposite of Mr. Boomstick shows. No, thanks so much, Boom. Great show. Awesome panel. Archimedes, Mav, and obviously Zemi and you, Boom. This is just a great way. I love Tuesdays, man. This is a great way to start my day. Chat, you guys, phenomenal discussion in there. Love to see the chatter going on when we're talking about a topic. You guys always come out and show that love. So nothing but love and respect to you all. Look, hey, you know what? Breaking news real quick. For all of you Battle Royale lovers, another one has entered the fight. Congratulations.
Yes, sir. I just
Ghost
got the
Recon Frontline. Yes,
yeah.
That's right. Ghost Recon Frontline. Shocking. Ubisoft is going to jump into the Battle Royale market. This one is first person. So they are changing up the Ghost Recon formula for this one. So yeah, go check out that news. For all you Battle Royale lovers that can't get enough. Mav said he's probably going to check it out. So he's part of the problem of why we don't have Splinter Cell. Mav.
Hey,
There you go. Talk about it.
Anyways, you know what? You guys can find me Pong Soul everywhere. You know the drill. I'll let Mav handle a Friday nights with Xbox Ultimate. Again, go check out last week's if you haven't. If you want to hear Dealer drop some nuggets, you want to hear Kay Asante give some awesome information and thoughts on all of our topics as well. Kay Asante is incredible. Go check that out. Last Friday's show was amazing. Otherwise, Saturday mornings, Living Split Screen. That's right. My brother from another Steel, Rain, and I. Shout out to Wandering Dutch, Midweek Mix-Up Collective. If you have not seen Wandering Dutch's artwork that he does for custom consoles and controllers, go check it out. Because when we hit 400 subs on Living Split Screen, Wandering Dutch is giving away a Xbox Series or PlayStation 5 controller, custom controller. So go check us out. 10 p.m. or 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time in the morning. Set those alarms. We're going to get you up and ready to rock and roll. Like Boom says, he's got it on while he's doing his chores in the morning. That's what a lot of people do. Come check us out, 3 p.m. UK time. Living Split Screen. Split Screen is all one word. Fantastic show. We usually run about 3 hours, so sit back and enjoy.
Sometimes more than that.
Sometimes more than that. We've had our 4-hour shows as well. Just Steel and I. So go check it out. Great time. We just absolutely love our Saturday mornings. And then Saturday nights, the Shop Podcast, PTK Blam, Centurion, and Fuzzy Belvedere and myself, we are all there, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 o'clock Central Time, short show. PTK always has fantastic guests, so go follow him on Twitter and you'll get the updates. Man, just check us out. It's a great show. We talk about all things gaming there as well. And then I'll be back here Tuesday next week, Xbox Factor Podcast, with this now Hall of Fame panel, and we're going to get 3-Bit back as well. Holy cow, this is this is insane, Boom. Nice job. Anyways, I'll see you all then. Meantime, play what you love what you play. It's the golden age of gaming. Go enjoy this. Battlefield beta already downloaded. You will see me on that Battlefield this week. I am ready to rock and roll. That is my game. I cannot wait to check this out, and hopefully it's going to live up. So
yeah, I'm expecting it will. Bastion in the chat, Pong says, love Living Split Screen, one of my favorite podcasts.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you all.
Mav, let's get you in on the conversation. You had an absolutely incredible show last week. Besides the fact that you have an excellent show each and every week, you had a couple of guests, specifically one Dealer Gaming, who dropped some incredible nuggets that really has set the interwebs on fire. And obviously, we expect you to continue that trend with guests and incredible topics with that you and the Magnificent Seven, as they're called, continue to bring to us each and every Friday evening. Talk about where can people tune into that and where can people subscribe to your YouTube channel. But if they have a comment, if they have a suggestion, where could they reach out to you on social media?
Everybody, thank you for being here in the chat and all the panel. You guys are awesome. Hey, Fun Speculation on Twitter is the name. Fun Speculation on YouTube is the name, and it's also the game. Yeah, I just made that up. That's stupid. All right. Anyway, guys, check it out. Fun Speculation on YouTube. We got an awesome show every Friday night. It's called Xbox Ultimate Podcast, which features this guy above me. You see him here, as well as the rest of Magnificent Seven. You got 3-Bit. You got Lady AF. You got Assassin Lupa, who should be hopefully making a return here soon, as well as my wife, Caitlin, and Psychonauts. We have a lot of fun on that show. We also have 2 more shows, though. Tonight is Fun Pop. Fun Pop is Marvel, DC, Star Wars, all that fun stuff. We talk about movies, games, TV shows, whatever, right? It's a lot of fun. So tune in tonight for that. We got Jasper Gaming and Psychonauts on that show. And then a new show, Boom, is starting on Saturday. This has been a long time coming since the start of the channel. Fun Speculation Podcast, FSP. This Saturday, October the 9th, we got Phasma. If you're familiar with her in the community, she does reviews for Season Gaming. We also have Gaming Key. He's a streamer. He's absolutely awesome as well. And we have Fuzzy Belvedere, who is amazing at talking about games, super knowledgeable. He's also on the Shop Podcast that Pong was talking about. So tune in on Saturday for our first show of FSP. Friday nights, Xbox Ultimate, and Wednesdays with Fun Pop. And then just whenever I'm playing games or a random impromptu stream, you never know when Pong or 3-Bit or Psycho and I will just randomly just want to talk about acquisitions, which is Archimedes' favorite topic, isn't it? Archimedes?
Yes, number one. Number
We'll
one.
invite you next time,
topic.
Archimedes. Hey, Mav, don't forget to give a quick
Oh, it's
review
not
on
Fun Pop
Nickelodeon
tonight.
All-Star Brawl, by the way, too.
Oh yeah. Fun Pop's not tonight. It's not Wednesday. It's Tuesday right now. Right?
Oh yeah, it is Tuesday. I was
It's
hoping
Tuesday.
it'd be
Fun
Wednesday.
Pop's tomorrow, guys. Don't listen to me.
So I could watch the last what if of the season, which I'm devastated. But really good so far if you've been keeping up to that. And I know that you guys have. But Boxenberger, thank you so much for joining us. You are now officially a part of this Tuesday program, and we are definitely better for it. Please, by all means, tell everyone where they can help you grow your channel by subbing to your YouTube channel. Talk about your new video, and where can people reach out to you and strike up a conversation on social media?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for having me. Thank you for having me on this awesome panel with Mav, Pong, Sammy. It's a blast. I can't wait for
we know that you're here for Zemi. I mean, does Zemi confirm that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I
Whole
said it
reason
multiple
he came
times on
to
the Thursday
Tuesday
show. I miss Sammy. He always brings different opinions and views to the conversation, and I love that. So yeah, and thank you all. In the chat was awesome today. It's always a blast to discuss everything gaming here with the panel and the chat. So big applause to them. Yeah, and people can find me basically everywhere under Boxenberger. As you said, I have a small YouTube channel where I cover certain topics of the gaming industry. Put out about 1 or 2 videos per week, where I try to talk about what is happening in the gaming industry. My video from yesterday was about obviously Halo and the state of Halo. As I said earlier, I try to make some graphic comparisons and just talk about how the game has evolved and how it feels to play and so on. Definitely check that out. I think the links to the channels is in the description down below. So yeah, I can't wait for next week to be back. And if you want to hear more of my thoughts on gaming and Halo, definitely check out the Midweek Mix-Up podcast that I'm a part of each and every Wednesday. That's starting like 2 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Europe time on the Wandering Dutch channel. So yeah, definitely check that out. Otherwise, I see you guys next week.
Absolutely. And once again, I want to thank all of the super chats that continue to come in. They not only help the channel grow, but they also help us give away more and more each and every week. There's another big giveaway coming the first week of November. It's directly from Mrs. BoomStick herself. I will be making an announcement in the coming weeks and what you can do to be a part of that, how you can win some of the prizes that we're going to be giving away. And again, this was all self-motivated by Mrs. Boom wanting to give back even more than we already do. And that's because the generosity continues each and every show. And just a reminder, folks, speaking of shows, remember, there will not be a new episode of the Xbox Factor podcast this Thursday. That show has been put to bed. And in 2021, we might... 2021. In 2022, we might revisit a 4th program that I'm working on in the background. It might be, but it's not going to be an Xbox Factor podcast because I needed a break. 4 shows a week, I was really feeling the burn, and you're going to get 3. And the next time you're going to find me on the air that I'm not guesting on someone's show is going to be Friday morning's Breakfast at Boom, and VJ has joined the fray to add to Crispy Bomb, to Dreadpool, as well as, of course, BitCloud Gaming, making us, have an additional voice, but one that is really specific. You whether you like VJ or you don't, and there really is a lot to like because he's very, very sharp and he does have significant knowledge. He's going to be bringing all of that to of course, the Breakfast with Boom Friday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. But of course, thank you again for tuning in. We had well over 300 people here today. If you are new, please consider subscribing to the channel. I am officially, I think, 80 something away from 9,000. So it's under 100. Awesome. 9,000 is a great number. 10,000 is really what I want to hit. And I think that just on pure mathematics and time, I will get there. But again, YouTube is hard, and nothing's guaranteed. So if you are new and you enjoyed the banter, please consider subscribing to the channel. If you are already subscribed, hit that like button.
Keep sharing it out.
Yes,
God's
share
sake.
it out to social media. Absolutely.
Yes,
I
please.
definitely appreciate that. But listen, folks, I'll close out the show with something that is important to me. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my father taught us when we were very young. And I think now more than ever, it's ultra important. He said, son, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, and I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. We'll see you next week on the newest episode of the Xbox Factor podcast.